Let's drink beer. It makes my mind clear. It takes me away from here. Let's drink beer. And let's drink beer. Pump it up, lift it up, drink it up.
All right, guys. What are we drinking from Maui today?
Let's do it.
Today I brought our Pauhana Pilsner. We got our Maui Lime Lager, our 2 tickets to Paradise, Tart Saison, our Pono Life Sour IPA, and then we have our Barrel Aged Night Diver.
The
Big boy
guy.
for dessert.
We go Pilsner first.
Yeah, we're gonna go at the Pauhana.
Yeah, always want to end on dessert.
Let's get to work with the Pau.
Yeah.
I was so stoked when they released this finally in cans, like for a year-round production, because it was. I think when they finally released it, I mean, there wasn't a lot of, like, you had Longboard and that was it, you know, and you had Bikini Blonde, but, you know, like, it was like, they put out the Pilsner.
And they're not really like a true, like, light Pilsner style, like, kind of sticks to tradition.
Exactly.
And to be honest, this was the first one that I have friends that are, like, born in Prague, and they're very, like, snobby when it comes to their Pilsners. Yeah. And they'd only cared for, was it Pilsner Urquell?
Yep.
And this is the only one that he didn't give me about. Cheers. So cheers to that.
Yep.
But nice clean finish, like not
That'll work.
too sweet.
It's exactly what you want when you're sitting in the 90-degree heat in the middle of June. In Hawaii.
Clean.
Ice cold for me on the golf course, that just cools you off, right?
Oh
there.
yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect.
And with
Yeah.
the low ABV, I can still kind of keep my game going.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic beer, and Maui's made such a huge progression, and I mean, they've been so important in the transformation of the beer scene, the craft beer scene in Hawaii, right? I mean, like, if you think about everything that Maui's done to transform where we've gone or where we've been, right?
Oh, totally.
It's monumental.
And trying to do it like what I really appreciate about Garrett doing it is he's doing it in the right way too. And like trying to make everybody be a win-win situation.
Yeah, because there's been things that they've done that have
Yeah.
basically set the paving stones for every other brewery that's come along, right?
Yeah, like you can do this. You can be local. You can, you know, it might cost a little more, but people appreciate it.
Yeah, and even from changing like legislation and laws, right? Because a
yeah.
lot of our laws locally, like a lot of other states, were, you know, archaic. They were from
Tons of gray areas.
Yeah.
Or nobody
decades.
questioned it. Nobody questioned it, and it didn't pop up. So
Right.
it just kind of made its way, keep going.
because all the laws were made before little tiny startup mom and pop breweries were even existed, and they sort of didn't even allow what they needed to do to survive as a business.
Yeah, I think some states on the East Coast still had, what was it, prohibition laws in effect, you know? Nobody ever thought about, like, that they're still going.
Right. For a small business or a small brewery, because at the end of the day, it was a startup. It was, bootstrapped, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think with what Garrett did and how Maui, the only way to survive was to change. Like, you had to go in and change state law to allow breweries to even sell the beer out of their own brewery, right? Like, we're so spoiled now. You can go to a brewery, you can walk up to a brewery and go, I'm gonna buy that 6-pack. I want to take it to go. But 15 years ago in the state, that was illegal.
I mean, for us, not even, a few years ago, couldn't even.
Yeah. Like, you couldn't even serve beer out of your own, like, a brew pub wasn't even allowed at some point, right? Where, like, that was just, and it's hard, it's crazy to think that today that was at one point not too long ago completely illegal.
I mean, how did the only person I know that was doing it was like Gordon Biersch, but did they like license 2 separate? Like, here's our restaurant,
That's true,
and here's
right?
our brewery, right?
That was one of the first. That was the first brew pub
Here,
in Hawaii.
Because they were brewing, but I know at the time you couldn't, so they must have had
and
brewery, restaurant,
separate entities,
And then from there, just a lot of the rules and regulations, and there's still a lot of rules and regulations that are very prohibitive for business, right? I mean, and it's
interpreted differently on different islands, which is the weirdest thing.
Yes, yeah.
We all talk about Maui.
Oh, it's like I call it the town from Footloose there. No music, no dancing,
No fun.
no fun, you know?
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing. We're like one of the smallest states geographically, even population-wise. Yet, you know, it's so unique because you can't get in a car and drive from here to Maui. You know, and so
You can't cross counties unless you're in a plane.
In a plane,
That's
right?
the
Yeah.
only state that has that.
yeah, like if you're in California and you want to go from, you know, San Diego to Los Angeles, you just jump in a car and you drive, right? And you hit all the breweries along the way. But here you can't do that, and you know, it's a totally unique situation. You know, it's good and bad in a lot of different ways.
Hey guys, we're gonna take a little break. We're here with Maui Brewing Company. We'll see you guys in a few minutes.
Bringing you what matters. Viewers can receive the Star Advertiser digital full access subscription for just $9.95 per month. Go to staradvertiser.com and click on subscribe. Use the code AHITHING.
Welcome back to the Art of Beer. We're tasting Maui Brewing Company, and let's keep tasting.
Yeah, Maui Line Lager.
There we go.
So is this a year round or is this like a one-off?
Well, it's a limited that we kind of keep in the mix every now and then. So it's on the look that it might come back next year to fill a position if we possibly can't get like a certain fruit. It's an idea out there to do it again. I'm hoping that we kind of switch it up to something different. I like switching it up every other year. But it'll be on draft probably if we don't do it in cans, just for Cinco de Mayo, that kind of.
How many beers that Maui brews go outside of Hawaii versus stay inside? Like if you're traveling.
We try to get them all, at least to California. We have a really big following in California, and that they'll get a good amount. They don't get as much as we do here. The East Coast will get the core styles that you normally see. Just some of the limiteds are so limited now that it's just not fair to try and get it all the way out. That's someplace so far away that by the time it gets there, it's just not going to be as fresh.
What's
as
the
before.
furthest place that Maui sends their beer to?
We've seen it all the way as far as Boston, all the
No
East
way.
Coast, yeah, Florida. I think we might be sucking back a little bit now just because of production issues. So, but gonna try and concentrate more just West Coast and here. We still have some in Wisconsin, things like that. But it's gonna be most likely the cores that stick.
Because obviously, I mean, your primary markets, or probably the biggest selling markets, Hawaii, right?
Yes,
And then
yeah.
California,
California,
the West
California,
Coast.
yeah. A lot of people, and then with seltzers in the mix in our company too, that's been another big thing. We're getting that other crowd of people that didn't notice us before because they didn't really drink beer. So now you're getting like a whole more people kind of want more stuff now.
How
So it
big
might
of a
start spreading?
change has that been for like you guys? You know, obviously seeing that ramp up over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
It went from not even having other products to, I mean, Maui's diversified. I mean, like a lot of the companies we talk to, it's like they're not just, you know, they're a brewery and it's a brewery at heart, but then they're diversifying into spirits and seltzers. And
To be quite honest, I'm glad Garrett did that a long time ago and had all these ideas because I feel that helped us survive having more tools in our belt, you know, more things to do, more ways to use other products and get local products to be put to use from farms. Even like, let's say like beer goes bad, you can still distill it, do these other things with it, not actually truly waste it and just dump it down the drain. Yeah. So it's good, but it's like, for us, it's time management now, you know?
Definitely keeps you busy.
Which every time I hear about a new thing, I'm like, oh man, I'm like, it's just more ways you're getting pulled and more things to focus on. But for me, it's like more, like I say, more tools that I could use, maybe more artillery in a way, you know, I have more stuff to get out there.
but there's a demand, obviously,
There's a
for
huge
all
demand.
all those genres,
yeah.
right? Like
And I think people are more like wanting to try different things now too.
between like the beers and then the seltzers have just been on fire.
Yeah.
And then you also have the RTDs, right?
Yeah,
Like, so
the
that's your-
RTDs I think kind of got pushed to the side for a little bit because the seltzers kind of came in hot, and everybody that was kind of into the seltzers were into the RTDs because they were just.
So what are RTDs? Yeah, what are RTDs?
Well, ready to drink cocktails. So we have our Kupu company that does the whiskey gingers in the can, and we have our whiskey cola in the can and a gin and tonic, and just as simple as taking a can of beer anywhere. I mean, taking a gin and tonic, ice cold is killer. Don't even need a glass on the rocks or nothing. So a lot of people have been kind of gravitating towards that.
Those are the ones that throw your golf game off harder.
Definitely. Those are the ones I give my friends.
If I drink that kind of stuff on the golf course, guaranteed not under 100.
Those are the ones that I offer to the other guys, you know? Like, oh, $5 skins right here, have a couple more.
Greenies? Yeah, here, you drink this first.
And those are all still like the spirits are distilled and made all in Kihei, right?
All
in Maui.
actually right next, like from me to you, away from the other equipment that we use to make all the beer. It sits right there.
How many barrels now do you think, or are you like like in the spirit side? Like I mean, how big is that? Because it's grown a lot, right?
I gotta double check, but I know we've like tripled the production from then. Now that we have the bottles going out in the market. Before we had we still have the same system. But I think the output now is more focused on getting all those 750s we have in the market, and plus the canned cocktails. And then that barrel-aged one finally got released, which is my favorite.
Got that first year, that 1 year of whiskey, right?
Yeah.
So just got a lot going on at the moment.
A lot going on, yeah.
But that's good, and we're good with that. With that, we're going to step out for a second. We're going to take a little shishi break. Don't forget to wash your hands. We'll see you back here.
The Art of Beer is brought to you by Growler Hawaii. 100 taps of great beer and other beverages. Stop in for some drink, food, and fun. Growler Hawaii, located at 449 Kapahulu.
Okay, back from shishi break. Yep. What do we pop in next?
Hands are clean.
Yep, hands are clean.
2 tickets to paradise. Tart Saison.
If you don't know what shishi is, you can Google it. You know.
Look at that color.
Yep, this one's gonna pour pretty with the hibiscus in there. And once again, a little bit of the local lime that we have, that we put in the lime lager, and
So this is like a remake, yeah? You guys did this one before.
Yep, with the Aloha shirt can that we had, that had the ticket on there.
That was a collab, right?
Yeah,
like
it was a
that
collab.
was it started off, right?
Yep, same guys that we collabed with, which is, don't know if I'm saying it right.
Crooked Stave.
Crooked Stave.
Yeah.
Somebody said Stav. I'm always like corrected.
Stave,
But
Stav.
yeah. Same thing with them, so that's why if you looked closely on the older can and it had the plain ticket, 2 tickets to paradise, it said Denver Airport and OGG.
Oh,
It just has like a little nod to both the guys, you know, that came and did it. So we had our version, this is our version. If you went to their brewery, they had their version that they did too. So,
But that's something Maui's always been super, super good about, and just I guess Garrett's and the brewery's relationship with so many craft brewers around the country. And
connecting people,
yeah,
you know.
and it's just utilizing the knowledge and the know-with-all of like.
From different regions too. I
Oh
mean,
my
it's
God,
like,
yeah.
you know, so many people get in doing one thing in one region so long that it just becomes the way. And then if you get anybody give you output from somewhere else, everyone's like, holy crap. Did we, You know, so.
But it also helps build the brands, like, you know, and people can see like, oh, like, you know, if you're from Denver and you see like this brewery working with this brewery or whatever it might be. I mean, I think that year you guys did collabs at like Breakside out of Portland.
Breakside.
I mean, there was some
one
rad
of the
ones,
older
right?
ones. I can't remember. I think it was Jolly Pumpkin. We did that. Salt
Yeah,
Recomano.
that was amazing.
That one was really cool.
Yeah. You got the Dogfish Head one with the ulu.
Dogfish Head, the liquid breadfruit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would really love to do that one again. To see that one again, everybody really liked that, and it was, for me, growing up here, like breadfruit's one of those things that you don't
everywhere.
grow. You like go grab them from somebody's yard, you know, and you're like, and
That fruit just goes.
so that was a weird thing. We
don't
tried to get it
park your
and
truck under it.
commercially get them. That was really weird to think of how you're gonna commercially get breadfruit. 'Cause
Right.
You're like, well, I don't know many farms. Like, so that was a cool one. And then Star Maps. I'm trying to remember who we did Star Maps with. And
Oh, that was the Kolsch, right?
that was the Kolsch with the
yeah.
local star fruit. And that was another one. I was like, that's really cool. You know,
Yeah.
this local star fruit. Another thing you go grab from somebody's yard.
God, how much starfruit did you have to use? You guys use starfruit. It's
Yeah.
That's another.
such
I
a
saw
subtle,
pictures. I
such
saw
a subtle flavor. You guys had to like bust it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Tons
It's
of it.
usually, like, if this was to the ground buckets, you'd see buckets of them. Like, somebody got to cut them and juice them. Look like punishment from the army, you know?
the old peeling potatoes.
But that's another thing here. It's like you go into any neighborhood and like there's people's trees that have fruit everywhere. whether it's from jabong or star fruit or mango or lychee, right? Like, and then and it's always kind of cool. Like if you know someone in the neighborhood, like, oh, he's got a lychee tree. That lychee tree is going off this year. Like, you know, and they give out lychee or mango, right?
And
like,
it used to be you could knock on the front door and you know take up something from your yard, but like you know my grandma's yard had avocados, so we'd go to people with a bunch of avocados. Hey, can we get some mangoes? When we brought you with some avocados. They'd be like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Growing up in Michigan, I always thought like the greatest thing ever would be have a mango tree in my front yard. And then I got one. I was like, I go outside and there'd be like 12, 15 mangoes on the ground. I'm like, what am I gonna do with all this? And you pick them up and like you go out at 3 o'clock and there's more.
Yeah.
So I would just shove them in my car. I called it mango diplomacy everywhere I went. Like, yeah, one mango. I was like, just give it away. No, take another one, please.
I had a beat up old Dodge Dakota and we didn't have, our mango tree was so tall we couldn't get it. We didn't want to climb. I stood on the top of my Dakota with my stick, just whacking them off, and everybody else was there catching it, and we would take it everywhere. We'd take it to the beach. We're like, yeah, there's mangoes. Take it to all your parents and everybody.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the unique things. There was always just like abundance. There was an abundance of sort of fruit and things like that. And you might as well just like, hey, what do you need? What do you need? Because there's when those trees fruit. Right. There's no way. Otherwise, your yard stinks.
Nobody eats that much mango. I love mango, but there's no way.
You'll get an allergic reaction.
No way. You gotta do something else with it.
Yeah. The same thing like lychee, right? But lychee's like little like red things of gold, right? Yeah. People are running around like looking for lychee.
People protect their yard now.
I knew a guy that would make lychee swipe, and then he wouldn't let anybody come pick. But that was like he used all of it to make like this swipe, you know, and it was dangerous. It was like sweet sake. You didn't know that thing hit you.
But you know it when it did.
Oh yeah. But that's the thing. Like you go around, you know your friends, you know the people in your neighborhood, and you grab stuff. And I think that it's played into the same thing with the brewery, right?
Yeah.
Like it's neighbors, it's friends, and even though the neighbors might be 3,500 miles away or a different brewery, it's that still
community.
And it gets other people creative. Like I noticed that some of these people like that at the brewery, they may not actually brew the beer, but they'll come up with an idea like, hey, you know, like I had this fruit, and everybody starts going off each other, and oh, you should make this kind of beer or do this. It'd be kind of cool. I have so much cilantro or I have so much lemongrass and things like that, you know.
Well, go grab another beer and come back and join us for more of Maui and Dustin. Thanks.
The Art of Beer is brought to you by Value Furniture. Has over 10,000 items from acclaimed designers to make furnishing your home easy. Create something beautiful with value. Beachside Roofing, the leaders.
Welcome back to The Art of Beer. We're here with Dustin from Maui Brewing Company, and we're here to drink some more beer.
What are we drinking next?
We got the Pono Life, our sour Hazy IPA. It just has a little more tartness just because we used the passion fruit, the liqueur juice in there. I actually like this one a little more warmer than just like ice cold because you can smell the liqueur, you can really taste the juice in there. Also, the hops in this one, along with Citra Cryo, is New Zealand Motueka, I think is how you say it, hops. Has like a nice like fragrance to it. It's one of my favorite hops. But yeah, I just love it. It's juicy for a hazy.
It is juicy.
I don't feel like heavy. Some hazies are like, oh my lord, man. It's like almost like you're drinking a hef, like it's like a meal. I like them light, and I like how the hazy has come about to get people to stray away from like the high IBU, like burn your mouth with hops. It kind of is more about like, let's smell it, let's get a good like juicy note in there.
This is juicy.
Everybody's gonna love this beer.
Yeah, I really dig it. And I mean, at 6.6, I'm not gonna get like hammered, you know? Some of them go up to like in the 7s, I think now I've seen some, high 7s.
But you're gonna get people that don't drink IPAs.
To like it, yeah.
To like this. I mean, a lot of people have a stigma. I don't like all that hops and stuff, so they say no to IPA. But these hazies, and especially incorporating fruit.
But this is a rotational one again, right? Like it's gonna come.
Which it might be something like we might take that base style and try it with maybe a different fruit, or maybe tweak around the hops here and there. That's what's great about being in Hawaii. We have all this abundancy like about local produce and stuff like that, and it's just great to incorporate that in there. And kind of like how you were saying, some people don't like IPAs, but you get them just try it. They might just change their whole perspective on it. Be like, okay, well maybe not one is the whole way that everything's.
So it's a lily koi beer.
Yeah.
You don't tell them it's IPA, it's a Lilikoi beer.
Yeah,
You know?
and they, in their mind, would be totally different about it. Like approach it differently in a more positive, more open note. Yeah, there's some people I don't even tell them when I'm doing tastings in the store. They're like, I hate IPAs. I'm like, cool, try this one. They're like, what is it? I'm like, it's an IPA. They're like, no, it's not.
This one's right up your alley.
You know, and I'm like, well, I didn't give you the, burn the enamel off your teeth IPA. I just gave you like a nice little
80 IBU.
You know?
Here, try that one.
So you grew up here, and
Yeah.
so like, what was your sort of first foray into? Because obviously, like everybody, like you don't just start drinking this kind of beer, right?
No.
Like, growing up here, like what was sort of like that first introduction? What did you see?
Growing up as a kid,
What did your dad drink?
My dad was like a Miller Lite, Coors Light guy back in the day. Like that's I swear it's all I remember was Miller Lite, Coors Light.
Yep.
He told me like Heineken just snuck in there, and like I think when I was maybe mid 80s, like they kind of snuck their way in there, and he lost a couple of uncles to them, but
Does your dad still drink Miller and Coors?
he'll try stuff every now and then, but now I got him to be more open to trying stuff, because before he thought every beer tasted like the same. They're like, nah, beer just tastes like beer, nah.
Right.
I'm like, no, you could try different stuff, and it goes good with food. And so now, especially when he goes Vegas, it's like, I want to try all these different beers.
that's
And
cool. See?
it made him open his mind to
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
But I never knew about different beer, even in high school. I mean, we had, you go and sneak something from somebody, but it's like whatever you found. And then when I got to college, you see other stuff. Like I left, and and that's the first time I ever saw a microbrewery was
And what
New
was that?
Belgium.
New
New
Belgium.
Belgium. They were.
I went to
Yeah.
Fort Collins,
Yeah.
Colorado, and my brother went to CSU. And
That's where I went.
It was New Belgium. That's the first one I ever went to.
And there was a local one called CB Potts that was there, and I think it was one of those ones you just buy a franchise and they just tell you to make whatever kind, and that's what it was. But it was cool.
I think a lot of times people just like they travel, they experience new things, and it's just a way you learn
Yeah.
things, right?
Just different. You get to try different stuff, and then when I came back, I was the one that knew all these different things to try, and I experimented with different beers.
You influence everybody.
Yeah, and there you go.
Well, Dustin, we're glad you're back. Thank you for joining us on today's Art of Beer. We're going to do the extended version on YouTube, so go check us out online. And thanks a lot for being here, brother.
Thank you guys. It was fun.
All right, welcome back to the extended version of the Art of Beer. We're here with Dustin from Maui Brewing Company, and we're gonna crack the night diver.
Dessert time.
Dessert time. So this is rad. I mean, because this is a bourbon barrel aged beer that sat for a long, nice time, soaking up flavors.
And then it got to mellow out in that bottle.
Oh my God, yeah.
Perfectly.
And it's just amazing to see now, like, in Hawaii we're crafting beers like this, that we can, and they sell. And these aren't necessarily cheap beers because they take a long time to make. And sometimes people go like, how come that beer is $23? Yeah. It's like, well, that beer took 24 months to make, so you're paying $1 a month for it to make.
Right? Time is money.
Took a real estate in a room.
Yeah, in the most expensive real estate energy environment in the world.
Yeah.
And the brewery sat on that beer for a long time.
Totally.
And it's you pay for that time. You pay for that smoothness. And people wouldn't flinch at paying $25 for a bottle of wine.
And like how you said, people will actually seek this.
Oh yeah.
And either trade somebody else something twice the value of it to get it.
It's interesting, like you said. Won't bet their eye paying $25 for a bottle of wine, but this I'm like, this gets you a lot farther than a bottle of wine.
So so Black Pearl. Tell us about Black Pearl, because that's sort of the.
That's kind of what started it
Yeah.
and put the whale bottle on the map was the Black Pearl, which my first experience from it was pretty much this style of beer, but it was our Imperial Coconut Porter. That we were the first company or brewery to come out with a coconut beer way back when Garrett and them started it. So it kind of evolved into an Imperial, and then the Imperial was with a rum barrel.
Rum barrels, yeah.
The rum barrels, and they would put the Imperial Coconut Porter in the rum barrels and then age that one and come out. And I remember when those first came out, we had couple kegs. Maybe. And I got to try it once.
Yeah.
And it was at Whole Foods in Kailua when they first opened. Yeah. And that was even before I even worked for this company. And I was one of those dudes in line waiting to try it. Yeah. And it was amazing. It just was Haupia dessert drink in a way with that little rum hint to it. It
was like a Mounds, dark chocolate Mounds bar with Haupia, and it was like all this stuff going on.
You think it'd be a lot, but it's like,
oh my God, yeah. it was that like exact like Caribbean dessert, like in a glass. Mm-hmm. But that was like the sort of the genesis of where things went from there.
And then it became like a thing. People like, oh, when are you gonna bring it back? When are you gonna bring it back? When's it gonna come back now? Can you make it again? And then I think when I first got this job, it was the first time they did the bottle.
Yeah.
And we've tried it out with just the Imperial, and then the Black Pearl came out, and then that was it. And then it was like maybe under a dozen cases that first time.
It wasn't a lot.
And it was gone. And then if you didn't get it, people were selling them online for like 3 times the amount of money. And I couldn't believe that stuff. And I was like, how is that? Like, it's not illegal, but I'm like, yeah, I guess if you're selling a collectible, right, through like whatever.
Sell a decoration.
Yeah, it's just crazy. But I used to see guys standing in line for like cases of it. You know?
But it's like you could only get it
here
in the state. So it's also one of those things where if you were in Michigan or Virginia or wherever, and you were seriously into that stuff, you had to find somebody here who had it that would ship it to you.
Yeah, I mean, even on those last limited runs that we did, I had to go to your store to buy it. I didn't even get it. I was like, I'm like, I'll just go to Tim's and get it. I was like, we're good.
But it's funny because there's some things where like you, even as a seller, you have to almost like pre-anticipate and fight over to know like I want this, I want to get this, you know, and it's a competitive market because of scarcity, and when the quality of a product's that high, in the quantities that low, I mean, it's just market demand, right? And you know, it's like I need to have this because my customers are gonna want it and they demand it. So I want to make sure that we get them what they want. You know, and it goes from there.
Which is why we keep these kind of ones like here, because then it's enough to make everybody happy here. You know, and if people really want it, they'll go send them to their friends. You know, if they really. But you know what? You gotta come here. Gotta come try them. Gotta try everything else.
USPS flat rate boxes, right?
You gotta keep some stuff close to home.
Yeah.
You know, you can't
totally.
sending it all
So it makes
off.
it cool. You know, I gotta keep it for everybody here. But this one, I could like this and some cookies. I'm stoked on. Put some ice cream on here.
I don't even need the cookies. Like you can just dump it on vanilla ice cream and it's good to go. Yeah, avocado.
What was that one? We did that Maker's Mark one, and it only went to Monkey Pod like a long time ago. And it was this similar beer, and they did a Haupia gelato float thing with this style. And it was like, I'm gonna let the thing melt because I'd rather just drink the whole thing. I was like, this is so good.
Can you bring me a straw?
I was like, I'm gonna wait for the thing just to melt.
Just leave it on the bar. I'll be back in 8 minutes.
Like, can you throw all this in like a little milkshake thing and then bring me back this as a milkshake?
So I mean, go back to like when we were, you know, at some point, like, can you ever imagine like when you started getting in the beer, like we would be at this point where stuff would be this adventurous and cool and the access to all that stuff.
No.
You know?
5 years ago, I would say like, what was it?
Crazy.
I could go to one store and then not find nearly anything you could find till today.
Yeah. It's like, I think you said it before, it's like we live in like the best time ever.
Yeah. If you're a beer drinker, there's never been a better time.
No. The quality is so high. And then what you have access to is infinite almost.
Yeah, and I love it. There's so many that everyone really has to like try. Like everyone really has to try and not just put out like, I'm gonna throw out this idea. You know, everyone's like, I gotta really put out something great to stand out and really like show why I'm doing it. People care about why you did it too and where did it come from. And there's more things to think about now when you make something.
Oh yeah.
And people are conscious of the story, the backstory. Why'd you do it? Yeah. Why did the label look like what? It's a whole part of the experience now with people buying beer. You know,
it's crazy.
Yeah, that everything like come from down to the label, everything like because people are going through and you know you buy with your eyes. Mm-hmm. So if something doesn't jump out, then you kind of like might pass by. And wine producers have been doing that for a long time.
I know, but every now and then you get a pretty bottle of garbage.
Right.
I mean,
I agree with that. I'm like,
wine-
oh, that bottle's really cool looking. It's probably
wine more often than not, you get
But it goes back to,
real
like-
good-looking crap.
Good marketing. Like,
Good marketing.
yeah, high five to the marketing
The marketing
guy.
guy did his job or her job. I've got no issue with
You're
that.
gonna kick the winemaker, but
Right.
Like, what was the one that when I used to work for Whole Foods, I remember seeing one. I'm like, does that seriously look like an 80s label maker? I forget what wine it was, and I was like, that looked like they didn't even come up with an idea. I'm like, and it was like 3 little strips, and that was the
Hello,
wine.
my name is Cabernet.
And it was like an $80-something bottle, and people were like, "Oh my God, you have this one!" I'm like, "Dude, you really bought it off of that? How'd you even know that was on the shelf? Doesn't even the name's like that big." And I'm like, "I guess it's like those kind of things."
and it's a
right?
cult classic.
Yeah. I was like, "Oh."
So you turn into a cult classic. What you do is you only put one on the shelf.
Yep.
Every day you put one on the shelf. So everyone comes by and sees there's only one. You grab it.
Right.
Next day you put one more out. Okay, you get
you got the last one?
4 cases of it in the back, but every day you put one.
What's so weird is we find where it's like at the shop, sometimes there's one on the shelf, people don't want to buy it.
Because you don't want to be the rude person.
I'm like, bro, it's not like a dinner table, like where you're asking, can I have the last serving? It's like, it's consumer based, buy it, buy
It's not
it.
the last piece of bread. You can have it.
But it's like, when there's one bottle left, it sits. And I'm like, wait, why?
So you gotta put like a demi-empty can behind you.
Yeah. It's like, please
Take a picture of it full and then
So
put the picture.
Put whatever your next row that you want to put in that row, put that behind the
Yeah.
one. Now it looks full. They're like, oh, plenty of these.
please don't be polite.
Yeah.
Like,
Mirrors behind them. So it looks like
When
it's
you go to a
never
beer
ending.
store, buy the last one.
the last bottle.
Buy it.
Don't be polite.
Don't question. Don't be polite. Just buy it.
Or the one that I laughed at when I worked for Whole Foods, if the display was perfect, nobody wanted to touch it.
Perfect.
They're like, I'm not gonna buy from it. It's so nice. You're like, no, do it.
It's not that
So
it's
you need
so
to like
nice.
take one down and
I'm
like,
gonna tell you what it is. When you make these big, huge displays, it's not because it's so nice. You don't want to be the one guy that grabs the wrong one and it
jackass.
tumbles down, okay? So big, tall, Lego-looking displays will scare away half your demographic because they don't want to be the guy, because everybody in the grocery store is going to stop and look at you. You're just standing there with the one in your
Like,
hand.
I'm gonna
and
take the one off
and the
the
rest are on
top.
the floor. Exactly. Make it accessible.
Yeah.
Nice big cubes on the ground.
Because
People
someone's
will
gonna grab
sell
it
out.
from like here.
If
and,
you
like,
stack too high and make it fancy, not gonna happen.
you need to stack it right next to the M&Ms in the checkout aisle, because then I'm just like, oh yeah, here we go, that's done.
That's like going through the South. All the pork rind displays are on the end of all the beers. Everywhere you go in like with
I'm not gonna say
Mississippi,
no.
especially.
well,
It's like,
that's
I got a
why-
12-pack of beer and I got 2 bags of pork rinds. I mean, this is perfect.
And that's why here it's like, if you want poke, you gotta walk through the beer aisle
Yep,
to get to
to get to the poke counter.
Because you gotta walk all the way to the back to get poke, and then when you're walking back, you're like, oh, miles. Oh my God.
And you show back up to work and your boss is like, why'd you buy beer? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
Because it was just calling to me. I had to walk by it, right? Like, I can't have one without the other.
The other one was lonely.
Yeah. They did it to me.
I had 2 hands and one had poke in it. What did I do with the other one?
Yeah, in the South it's pork rinds, and in Hawaii it's poke, right? Like, it's just, everybody's got it dialed in some way.
Absolutely.
Like, how do you sell something without, like, that secondary sales of
We need to get some impulse buys right here.
the bubble gum and the pokey, and that's unreal. Yep, this thing is decadent.
No, it's so good.
And it's like even better when it kind of warms up. You just start tasting more of like the chocolate in there, and
Yeah, the nose is like chocolate and maple syrup, and
it's not like it's not too much. Like it doesn't have that sharp aftertaste, where it really dries your mouth out, like some barrel aged ones will do.
But it's smooth, it's also, it's had some time to age. We talked about that in other
this
shows
is the
about
2019 release.
like aging beers, and like this is one that, I mean, you could probably put that away for a long, long time, and then have different vintages where it slowly evolves, and it's not gonna lose much of any character. If anything, it's gonna gain stuff, right? Like,
Yeah. It probably has like up to like a 3 to 5 year point where it's like its Goldilocks zone, and then it probably won't alter after that, but it won't get bad, It'll just stay in that like really nice mellow sweet. It'll probably just get sweeter, if anything. Yeah. Which is
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool because you see like a brewery like Maui, obviously like a lot of the beers they put out are meant for where we are.
Yeah.
It's like, the lime lager, or even the 2 tickets. Like that's, I mean, you crack those on the beach, cruising at the beach park. Yeah. But what's rad is you see like this, where it's the polar end of the spectrum. But it's also like if you feel like a nightcap and you want to have something nice at the end of the night, again, you're sharing it with a bunch of people.
Yeah, sharing it with a bunch of friends,
Yeah. It's a spectrum of what can be done in one locale.
Yeah, with different things that you can use too, Yeah. Like this has been a regular beer too. Like you could just do a regular like imperial stout. There's multiple ways to do the same thing and expand it.
What I loved about beers like this when I owned the restaurant was, sometimes you'd have like a really good dessert. It would go great with a whiskey or something.
Yeah.
But the last thing you want to do is have like a 4-top, do 4 shots of whiskey and get in their car and drive anywhere. It's not good for anybody. But this is not a low alcohol beer, but 4 people could share this. It's not quite as much booze as a whiskey. It's going to go great with that chocolate dessert or that vanilla dessert or hopia or something along those lines, or whatever the chef comes up with. And then something that's really special and rare that they can kind of share.
Yeah. And you could probably please everybody on the table versus like a booze, and they're like, oh, I don't drink that. Like they'd be more into being like, oh, I'll try that. Like that sounds great.
No, definitely. So how's it been with everything kind of like cranking up? And how are you guys keeping up with production? Because demand's always been there.
To be honest, it's hard to keep up. It got dropped on us, right? That everything got lifted, and then all of a sudden it was just like boom, 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 boom. Like all these other places where I should gear up and buy stuff so that I don't not have anything. And it was like a 2-week boom, and then we still have the same crew we've had, so it's just hard. They're working around the clock, and I feel bad that they're on another island. I can't go help, but it's just crazy. It's a good problem to have that we're constantly having the freshest products out there, but it's just like you feel like you're kind of just running uphill.
Because for perspective, like Maui's not small. Like Maui Brewing Company is not a small brewery. Like they're small in perspective to like
mega
an Anheuser-Busch or whatever, but they put out a lot of liquid, right?
We do, yeah, and it's just we can still put it out. It's to put it in the can. It's like the hardest thing because we don't have machines that do it. We have people that sit there and run the machine, to like fill it and put it on the containers and package it and push it out. Right. And you can only do so much at a time. And
then playing catch up constantly.
Our saving grace is that on the good side is we don't really pay for energy anymore. We take everything from the sun. Everything's 100% sustainable.
So that's been a big thing, right? Like, they've done a lot of work on that.
Yeah, I think that was a really smart thing that happened a long time ago that saved a lot of like money and things that could have had we'd have to worry about,
Because that basically that entire all the warehouses there in Kihei's hot and sunny, like all the time.
We're up where Boeing used to be, at the top of the mountain. You walk outside and it's almost like walking outside in Vegas. In like the summer, you're like,
but everything has solar panels on it, right?
Everything is solar when you go up there. 100%. Everything's covered in solar. The parking lot's covered.
And there's and I remember at some point there was a huge investment on like
Tesla
battery packs, right? Like a huge investment, right?
We save all the energy. We're 100% off the grid. We're the first brewery in the nation to be 100% grid independent. Like we pay for water. Yeah.
So are you guys you guys are producing more power than
storing it. And Tesla cores. Yeah.
That is insane. And again, it's like this is not a small little like manufacturer. This is big. Like this is
So every time I go there I'm like, there's like another wing to this warehouse? It's like, sooner or later I'm gonna end up in the back and it's gonna be like the end of Indiana Jones. I'm gonna be like, where am I? Help.
But it's amazing that the fact that like the sun can power this entire place.
With extra,
and it costs a lot of money to get you to that point. But imagine if everybody did that. Like we'd be, every bigger company had solar and didn't really rely on grids.
Especially when you think about it, we live on an island where we pay money to ship fuel to here to power ourselves, right? When
you pay to ship trash.
You have it coming from the sky, like just free and clear,
right? We pay for everything out here.
Right, we pay to have everything, but it's like, why are we paying to have oil and coal and all this other.
The sun's right there.
It's right there,
It's
right?
literally right there.
That's, you know,
And I mean, and up there, it's all the time. So
it's
like,
nonstop, right?
Yeah. I was like, you couldn't have picked a better place.
But it takes
for us,
investment,
but
right?
It's investment.
It takes
yeah.
investment and sort of saying, no, we have to put
And
the
the
money.
foresight. I was like, man, he had the foresight to know that that was the smart thing to do, and it would, it saves you so much. You may have to pay a lot up front, but it'll save
and I'm
you,
sure there was a
know?
lot of sort of pushback and roadblocks along the way of
I'm
trying
sure.
to get it there, right?
Everything, like getting the equipment, even to an outer island to get equipment
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
and.
Because
I mean, I always see the guys that are working on solar stuff, so
Yeah.
it must be a constant, like, gotta go do this, and you have to do,
There's gonna be a ton of maintenance.
Yeah.
guaranteed,
But it's still the fact that like you're constantly generating what you need out of what comes from the sky.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, well, Dustin, thank you so much for coming on.
guys.
We enjoyed all these wonderful
Yeah.
beers from Maui Brewing Co.
Love talking beer and everything else with everybody.